Christy actually reported on this last week. Former, if you want to pull this up, Matt, former ABC News reporter James Gordon Meek, who bragged about debunking evidence of an elite pedophile ring dubbed PizzaGate, was arrested and pled guilty to child pornography charges. He pled guilty to the transportation and possession of child sex abuse material after the FBI conducted a raid on his Arlington home in 2022, finding a Dropbox account of sickening child rape and materials of minors stored on his account. The court papers indicate the investigation began when a Dropbox reached out to FBI, which that means they're monitoring all your shit, mind you,
100%.
to discuss videos showing sexual abuse of children. The DOJ reported some of the images of the videos depicting pre-pubescent minors and minors under the age of 12, including an infant being raped. And isn't it ironic? Isn't it weird that this guy is the guy that was like, no, PizzaGate and pedophilia and a ring of people doing it is all fake, which I totally believe in. Christy, you reported this. Yeah. What do you feel about this, Christy?
My entire thing is like, this is a well-established, investigative, award-winning journalist who's worked for ABC since 2013.
Yeah.
And throughout that entire time, which I believe that they've been looking at photos there that he's had since 2014.
Yes.
So while he's collecting all of this, while he's having these inappropriate conversations with people online, he's also writing the very news stories that America is reading and believing. So it's like, that's my whole thing, especially as I get into the writing game and
minutia?
Yeah, the journalistic, because I feel like credible journalism has completely been lost, and that's why people are going to independent sources to try to get their news, because when you see things like this isn't the first writer, the first journalist that I see that is arrested and imprisoned and guilty of sexual pornography of children.
And producer, and Christy, not only just writers, I've seen ABC, CNN, all these people, producers, they're all getting in trouble. It's under the radar.
It's under the radar, and then meanwhile, they're the ones who are negating the attention from that, the very real situation that we have with like human and child trafficking, which is more than 50% of that industry. The money comes from the United States.
1,000%.
So it's just crazy to me that these very people that are like posting these kinds of stories and people are believing it, well, ABC said this and ABC, it's those writers. But then at the same time, they're getting caught. They're reporting on this on mainstream publications, but they're not putting it in the spotlight.
Of course
Why?
Not. Why? Yeah.
My entire thing is like, you need to research who you're reading, what you're reading, their backgrounds, because I'm seeing a pattern here as I'm like, my job now is to investigate within that, within news stories. So my whole thing is like, why isn't something so prevalent like this in the limelight?
Yeah,
but instead we're in aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. And
You
now,
know?
mind you, this story, Christy, because I know you told me about it, was a blip on the radar. I saw it, and mind you, I don't follow
I never
Fox.
heard of it.
You see it, Dodge. Dodge, didn't even heard of it. And mind you, you're an avid news reading.
Yeah, every day.
You're a freaking journalist yourself. So it's like, notice how this is under the radar. This is the guy that's like PizzaGate. It's all bullshit, and people believe these demons.
Yes.
And you know what's crazy? This goes to the first story that we talked about. What's stopping this asshole from going, you know what? I'm actually a woman. I identify as a woman. I don't want to go to a woman's jail, and I want boobs, and you fuckers have to pay for it.
Absolutely.
What's stopping him? Like, why not? I would do it if I was a demon like that. What are you waiting for? James, what's his name? He's probably
Meek. James Gordon Meek, I think.
Meek. Isn't that cool? What do you think?
I want to know what was the reason he had this? Like, is there something?
He's a perverted,
well,
disgusting.
he's also shared that he's fantasized abducting, raping, and killing 12-year-old girls.
He said that
he has
messages.
There have been exchanges of conversation that they have found, to the point that when you have Dropbox, that, well, technically now we know they can monitor anything that you have on there. But when you have them contacting the FBI because they're like, you need to really check on this guy's account. That's when you know that whatever's in there and has been there for many years collecting images and videos, and who knows if he was like a part of some of them.
Now that's where
where
my anger kind of flares up, where it's like, are you just indulging in this type of pornography, or are you a part of manufacturing it?
Who knows,
to me, that's the layer. You know, I don't really give a fuck too much. I don't really give a fuck too much about when somebody does something that they just enjoy, but when they do something that is harming other people, and they are part of the manufacturing of it. Like, if you're manufacturing the poison, I have a problem with you, not the person that's taking the poison. I don't necessarily have a problem with the junkie. I have a problem with the drug dealer.
Oh wait, do you have a problem with the pedophile like this?
This guy, I don't know if he's ever touched a kid or what he's ever done with the kid. But the fact that this guy is watching it makes me think there's something wrong in the guy's brain.
Obviously, there's something wrong.
So I want to know, how are we solving as a community and as a public as a country? How are we solving these mental issues? Because he's not just a criminal. I can see the victim in it, the victim mentality that he may have, the sick psychoticness of it, and not just he's not necessarily the drug dealer. He's the drug user.
100%. But what I'm saying is, though, I know you're kind of going at. He's obviously something is wrong with him where he cannot be in society. Because if you're watching this shit. Right. Who knows when you're gonna act on it? And that's why it's illegal. You can't possess anything when it comes to children or underage or videos of. Let me rephrase this. Anything that has to do with child pornography, you have to be that group has to be taken out of society, because who knows what they're doing and who they're recruiting or who they're getting. Because I think going to like the sex trafficking and all these PizzaGate and all these people, Oprah's school where kids were going missing from, I don't know where the hell they were shipping them out to, but that's why I think this whole open border policy, I just saw this morning. I was watching a video as I was getting ready. Mayorkas, that little smiling, oh God, that guy, I'm disgusted when I see Mayorkas. I know he's just doing what the administration is telling him to do, but they're like, this lady who went to the border, a congresswoman, I forgot her name, she's like, that's me taking a video of a guy carrying a kid that's crying, and they asked him to take a DNA test because he wouldn't do it, and he finally admitted, that's not my kid. I'm just bringing him because I was paid. I've been there. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You're dropping that kid off. And she goes, I never saw the kid again. That's why the left, who are, I mean, there's probably people on the right that are demons as well. They want an open border because, bro, they want an influx of these people that go missing. 85,000 kids missing, that you're messing with their supply chain.
I mean, personally, after our interview with Alex Jones, I fully believe it. Everything is pedophilia.
There's nothing.
Like when he broke it down and he was talking like the Hollywood elites are sleeping with these young people. Yes. And I'm gonna say something too that I was kind of nervous about saying. Like, I actually thought about saying it yesterday before the show. I don't know. I was like thinking about the show, and I remember being in a studio when I was maybe like 23. I was at a rap studio, and I'm not gonna say where because I don't want to put him on blast. But there was a producer, a well-known producer, that if I ever said one of his hit records, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But he was with
We'll put that in the chat at the end. We'll let everybody. I'm joking.
He was with this 18-year-old girl at the time, and fine supermodel type 18-year-old chick. And I went up to him and I'm like, how you end up with that? Because this dude is like 40, 50, close to 50 years old. Been in the game a long time. He said, man, and I'll never forget it, you are as young as the woman you're fucking.
What the fuck?
You are as young as the woman you're fucking. And I was like, damn.
God, then I must be 57 years old.
My whole thing is like, it's everybody's individual responsibility to take care of their mental health. Usually people who are like that and who are messed up in that kind of way and looking at children, they were probably abused as a child as well. They don't understand. They are traumatized as well. But it is not an entire society's responsibility to take care of that person's mental health. So it's not going to be at the expense, like letting him run free on this fantasy at the expense of like him possibly doing a crime. Like, we're just going to let him run free. No, like once we start seeing that this is there's a very real problem. And that's why we have psych wards. And that's why we have places where we put them away from society. Yeah. Like if we have text messages now where if someone's insinuating that they're going to shoot up a school, it's this, like, this is even worse. Yeah. I mean, it's not worse. It's just different, but it's like, just as bad. Well, it's just as bad.
Well, because again, that's why I'm always like, you have the drug dealer and the drug user. I'm like, this guy to me sounds like a drug user, and what I would do if I was in charge of some type of government facility is use him to find the drug dealer. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna use you as, you know, that joke that Dave Chappelle had about the salt trap and the monkey. Yeah. Right. Yeah, where it's like the African, they would put the salt in a little hole, and then the monkey would go find the salt, and his hand would get trapped in the hole, and then he would release the monkey and the monkey would run to the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he finally got some water. So I would try and use this PizzaGate guy to find the actual traffickers, because you must be getting the porn
of course. Well,
from
I mean,
somewhere.
the dark web. Well, the dark web it's called the dark web for a reason, and they're anonymous through all their torrent or whatever, all those servers that they use. But my thing is, and I'm sorry, bro, if you get off and you watch child pornography,
you watch a
pictures,
baby,
photos, babies getting raped, you have listen to me. They have to take you and get you out of society as soon as possible. And Shamari, I'm telling you right now, if you act upon it and you rape and you do that, you have to die. That's this is me, because guess what? Nothing positive, none of my tax money is gonna go for your tits because now you want to be a dude.
That's the person who identifies as a woman,
for the next 30 years,
and then you pay for fake boobs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. And I think me and Alon's on the same point. I'm sorry, bro. You lose your card to be around human beings, because now I can never trust you to be around any children. Because if you're watching the porn and you're seeing people getting raped and potentially snuff film murdered, what is inside you, bro? Guess what? There's a defect that's in here that, and mind you, it happened with Anthony Weiner. I'm so, like, I was upset that I wasn't on it, but then I actually was happy that I wasn't. Because me and that dude probably would have fought. Because I probably would have fought him, because he never really was like, oh, I have a problem. You know, I wanted to say, when if you drink, I'm technically I'm an alcoholic because I love to drink, but I know that I can't be around it because I'm gonna drink all the time. So my father, we come from a family of alcoholics, right? Yeah. It's when I see people drink, I'm still like, oh my God, like, oh, I wish I could have a martini or so, you know, Dodge. Like, I'm not like drooling, or I don't go to AA. I'm just, I know that I have a problem, so I have that self-control, but it's always going in here.
You're aware of your limitations.
I'm aware of my limitations.
Anybody can.
Here's my point. I still deal with it every day.
Sure.
Anthony Weiner was trying to hook up with a 14-year-old, 15-year-old. That doesn't leave his body. Bro, at the end of the day, he's recovering. Trust me, he sees underage girls, and he's still like, damn. I don't think that guy should be walking around. I don't give a shit about a 2-year.
Even if
he did his time, that's not enough time.
Even if he's got it somewhat under control, like he's not out here raping kids or doing anything to the kids.
It's a ticking time bomb with somebody like that. I'm telling you right now, if the opportunity came, who's to say that he's like, wait a minute, she's not gonna tell? I'll hook up with her. I don't fucking know. But he can't tell me that it's still not going on in his head. He's like, I deal with it every day. Let me
ask you this question. So let's say like teachers and students, when you see that happen, right?
Yeah.
So 45-year-old teacher hooks up with 16-year-old girl, deaf?
No, that's jail. Jail for a very long time.
Life, I think.
He hooks up with an underage girl that she was consenting. He didn't rape her. She was consenting. He goes to jail for the rest of his life.
30-year-old female teacher hooks up with a 16-year-old boy.
Jail.
I want to watch.
Sorry, guys,
same.
and I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. And I love it. Is a weird double standard, because every guy I know always goes, "Damn, where were those teachers when I was?" But listen, people don't realize that kid probably got like coerced in by his friends. Like, yo, man, the teacher hit it. He's probably gonna be screwed up in his head,
maybe
as well.
But that's usually men and women, though.
There
has to be a different. It's with the trans stuff too. There has to be a different set of codes and moral understanding, because for women, understandably, because there's more risk involved, sex is a much more serious and sacred thing. So I do think it's different, man.
But let me be a feminist. Let me be a feminist.
Up with a hot 40-year-old teacher,
I disagree.
It's completely
I think it's more
different,
societal.
in my opinion. They will treasure that for the rest of their lives. It might be weird, and if they were coerced or there's something weird or threatened to not have a good grade, that's not okay, and it's never okay. But it's a different situation. They feel completely different than when it would happen to a woman.
Yeah, no, imagine, that's what I'm saying. Like, every time I've heard that, Dodge, like, meaning, like, when you see a teacher, and dude, is it weird? The majority of these female teachers, they're all hot. Isn't that weird?
Mary Kay Letourneau, still married to Billy
Still married, yeah.
I don't know. I had an inappropriate relationship with a teacher before.
Oh, what? So
it didn't go all the way to sex, but her husband got involved, and we ended up having
How old are you?
Shamari?
Yeah.
How old are you, Shamari?
I like women, bro.
How old are you, though?
I was like 17.
Okay, that's not bad. Like, but when I see like 14,
that's the confusion right there.
Like,
that's the confusion.
17 about to
Where's
be 18.
the line at?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot. But when it's listen,
now babies and shit, we all know that's some.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's what this guy was looking at 12-year-olds. There's the line
prepubescent,
right,
and that's evil for a 12-year-old boy to do it a teacher. That's
ridiculous.
no difference.
Yeah,
that's evil if you do any of that to a 12-year-old boy or 13 or even 14-year-old boy
14
or 15. That's still evil.
It's evil.
16, 17.
Because at the end of the day,
then we have a discussion. But,
and at the end of the day, if they're like physically mature, like they grow a little bit faster than like other girls, for example, like they mature physically, their psyche is still the same. They are still a 14-year-old girl. You'll know more because you're a grown-ass man thinking about these things, but she is innocent. And that's the problem. Now, some girls might act like they'll be like, we've had this conversation before where you're like, oh yeah, well, some girls, like, you know, they act like they're innocent, but they're not. They're more mature. Those girls are statistically, they've already been either abused, they come up from a broken home, they've been touched inappropriately before. So there's a trauma there, like probably this guy, like Meek, that they will carry with them throughout their entire sexual lives until they get the proper therapy. That's why, like, some 16-year-olds, oh, they're really mature and stuff like that. They've already been
there,
exposed and hurt, and that doesn't mean that you continue to do it. They need healing.
I genuinely, I agree with everything you're saying. I think we just have to be very stringent on those lines, those hard red lines. Like how we just said prepubescent. That doesn't even make sense. The kid can't even have a baby yet.
That's what I'm saying. That's what this guy was doing.
So the whole sex making part of biology hasn't even been activated.
Well, that's not true because you have 10 or 11-year-old girls who can get their periods. Who do get their periods.
What is that? Is that pubescent or is that prepubescent?
Well, they're in that stage where they're growing. It depends on each person, but they're going through their puberty. Well, but that's already young. That's 10, 11 years old.
We gotta make a hard line. Like, okay, at 14, that's death penalty. Anything under 16,
the hard line
that's jail.
Is
because it kind of makes sense to me. Again, I'm not like some idealist where it's like, oh, the world is roses. I've seen enough negative things and real things where, okay, I know girls that were having sex at 12. I know dudes that were having sex at 12. I know kids that, I know a kid right now that, well, not right now, but he's a man now, but his auntie raped him and it made him like a sexual...
Crazy deviant?
No, I ain't even gonna say deviant. He's the guy that we'd be like, yo, bro, you smashed another one.
That's exactly
he's running through him. Like so his sex drive is extremely high because he started.
It's not a sex drive, it's trauma.
It's like
it's a desensitization.
I've seen so much. It's hard for me to just say, okay, it's all one thing, and that's why I like the hard red lines where it's like anything prepubescent, anything under 12, 13, 14, death. Get them rid of them.
Again, listen, I think having harsher punishments, bro. Think about it, in the Middle East, if you steal. They're chopping your fucking hand off, bro. It ain't 3 strikes and you're out.
Code of Harambe.
We're chopping your fucking... If you try to cheat and do whatever, your dick, then go.
Hammurabi's code or something
Hammurabi's
like that.
Guys,
good shit.
But I don't think you realize that there's like a mental torture, and I'm sure, I don't know how it was in the military, but there's a mental torture of being in a room secluded with nothing but white walls. For the rest of your life. Have you really thought about sitting?
Oh my God, no.
And staring at a white blank wall? I would think that the death penalty is easier way out. You're gonna go through that torture psychologically until you die, and then when you die, you have to face God or whatever it is that you believe in. You have to face God, and then you're gonna go to hell. And so there's a torture with that too.
100%.
Don't think that like they don't want death. Some of them are like, I'd rather die.
But I think having a harsher, like Shamari, I kind of agree with you where you're like, okay, listen, guys, now we're not playing games. Nationwide, countrywide is by your side.
Is on your side.
You fuck with a kid, guy, female, male, under 14, and we catch you. Listen to me.
You either getting castrated, or you're going to death.
Castrated. I'm not even mad at that. We're gonna lop your dick off, or guess what? You're going to die. I will guarantee the numbers, I mean, they're not going to drop, but they'll slowly start to, because people are like, man, I like her, but notice how I went to the southern accent?
Try that in a small town.
I tried that in a small town and let my balls up. Okay, close.
I like her, but I'll wait till she's 14 to give it a try.